My name is Jason Stirbinskis. I'm the Managing Director of Los Cerros Limited. We are listed on the ASX. We have an extensive portfolio of gold, copper and nickel in Colombia and Papua New Guinea.
Gold, copper and nickel. You're saying all the right words.
Trifecta.
Trifecta. Hey, but I tell you what aren't the right words is share price, devaluing, depreciation. You've really got hammered. I mean, above normal, it seems. The market really got beaten up last year, but you've really been beaten up. What's going on?
Yeah, well, that's a difficult place to start, but let's get it over and done with. You're right. Okay. We've lost 75% of our value, maybe even more from the really good days of 2021. And as you pointed out, every junior suffered last year. They were off 50% or thereabouts, maybe a little bit more. But why are we off an extra 30%? And we got hit by a perfect storm. So whilst all the junior space was losing value, we had a change of government. And of course, change of government brings in risk and share prices are penalised with risk. So we had sort of a double whammy there with everyone devaluing and then an additional hit with the change of government.
Right. What are people reading into that?
Well, yeah, it's.
I mean, is that basically like you've got a good asset there, but you can't really do much with it if people aren't giving you the value for it. You're going to have to raise expensive capital to be able to move that project forward, and you're not quite sure whether you should bother. Quite frankly, given what some of the headlines coming out of the country are.
Yeah, other than that last point, that's almost the board meeting conversation we had. We had last year. So, but it's the timing worked out for us really well because Quinchia project is 2.6 million ounces. Last time we spoke was exactly on that topic, was the 2.6 million ounces. So what we were transitioning to anyway in Colombia was to start to put some meat around that 2.6 million ounces at a gram per tonne starting on the surface. So doing metallurgy and engineering and all those sorts of things to demonstrate that sort of profile is economically compelling before we went and found more of it. You know, there's no point finding more gram per tonne unless you've demonstrated that what you've got already is going to work. Right? So it kind of worked out well for us that we were sort of ramping down on exploration anyway and focusing on metallurgy and those sorts of things of the 2.6 million ounces. In terms of petro and there's two elements to it. There's the perception, and I think most of it is perception at this point, but there's also the possibility of what's going to happen in his government. I think it's likely you're going to see additional requirements, additional restrictions on mining. It hasn't been legislated, but just the mood is like that. I think you're going to see a lot more emphasis placed on local community. And I think that's a positive for us because we won the Colombian ESG Awards last year. So in December, open to the entire...
Voted by who?
The mining industry.
Which mining industry? The Colombian in-country?
Yeah, that's right. So it's held at the Colombian Gold Symposium, which is a conference. It's gold in the title, but it's everything in Colombia. Held in December, and it's open to every mining house in the country, and we won it. There's only one award too. It's not as if there's a whole multiple list of awards.
There's a proper award, not the ones you kind of pay for.
No.
Right. Okay.
No. So we won that.
Based on what? What were you doing right?
Mainly our social engagement programs. Right. We have a policy where we pursue or chase opportunities for entrepreneurial development in the local communities. So rather than handouts and building schools and those sorts of things, we have a hothouse where we develop entrepreneurial ideas. Okay. And then we fund those or microloan to those, and then they pursue them. The one that had highest profile last year was coffee. So I can buy top quality single source Arabica coffee in Quinchia where we are for 40 cents a cup. And you've already discovered here in Perth it's $4 a cup, right?
It's very nice, but it was expensive.
It's very nice. So where does all that money go if I'm paying 40 cents in Colombia? So the local farmers combined with a company in Fremantle here called Microlotte, and we bring green coffee beans directly from the farmers to Fremantle, and we sell them here, which means we can either be more competitive because there's no middle stages to that, or we can send more of the profits back to the farmers. So we've cut out all those middle steps. It's entrepreneurial programs like that. And that's what won us the award.
Battery metals and coffee. I like it. Okay, that works for me. Okay, difficult times in country, right? So you obviously, people have kind of looked at you and gone, this could be problematic. I'm exiting left here. It's a big project. You've got to obviously work out the economics and the metallurgy and all of those kind of good things that you've got to get through. And you talked about board meeting conversations, right? So are the board conversations something along the lines of, we need to offload this thing, but let's do a little bit more work first?
No, it's not that advanced. It's more, let's focus on the 2.6 million ounces because that does carry value.
Sure.
Let's ramp down on exploration until the dust settles around.
You don't need more ounces. Right? You need to work out, does this thing stand on its own?
De-risk it.
And has it got, de-risking great, but where's the value lies? Obviously you want to be able to exit somehow at some point, and maybe, the question I'm asking is, do you exit a little bit earlier given what you've been through?
Well, part of the broader strategy of the company right now, and hopefully we'll get to this when we talk about the PNG assets, is our portfolio is too big for a junior now. We have these really exciting targets in PNG. We can't explore all of them all at once. It's just too big, too much opportunity. And with Colombia as well. So if there are opportunities for transactions and JVs and those sorts of things, then we've said publicly we're very much open to that.
So I think your asset in Colombia is worth something to someone. We just got to work out what that is. To do that, if you offloaded it now, it'd be a distressed sale. You probably have to, it'd be a discounted sale, right? So that's not fun for anyone. So how much money have you got? Because I'm trying to work out how much do you allocate to Colombia to move that forward to a point where it's going to be tied up in a pretty little bow for someone to say, well, that works for us. Well,
again, it comes back to the point you raised earlier that the timing is perfect because we're doing this engineering. Engineering isn't a big spend. Doing these investigations are not drilling rates. They're much less expensive. So we're doing that work. We're moving forward on those investigations. I mentioned the metallurgy. That was very comforting result. 87% recovery, 97 on the saprolite. Very, very basic process flow. We engaged Ausenco in Canada to do pre-scoping study investigations. So basically what they did is they took a number of scenarios of production profiles, plant sizings, mining sequence, all those sorts of things, and run some numbers on those. Now, obviously, I can't reveal the numbers because we don't have the sophisticated, advanced JORC status to be able to do that. But I can say, the results from that work that they did were compelling enough for us to pursue a few of those scenarios. Now, one of those scenarios is starting with a small-scale operation based on Miraflores, which is about 500,000, I think it's like 430,000 ounces of reserve based on a DFS in 2017. That's underground and far less controversial. And so it may be an opportunity that we take that and start with that underground sequence. So, not that I'm saying we would, but that is a possibility. And just on that, one of the other things we did to advance this whole portfolio this year, late last year, was we submitted the environmental impact assessment on that Miraflores DFS. So that's the last submission required to get production approvals.
Right.
So we're moving things forward, low cost.
But low cost. It sort of partially answers the question, which is how much of the money that you've got available to you do you allocate to Colombia? Wait, answer that one, because I've got another Colombian question for you.
The lion's share is going to Papua New Guinea.
Okay, fine. So
vast majority.
Okay, probably makes sense, right? But you're going to need a kind of competitive environment if you're going to try some kind of, we call it exit or monetization events, right? So your options are foreign direct investment into country is going to be limited, I suspect, unless it's one of the big boys already operating in country. So are there any of those?
Of course, yeah.
Right, okay. So it's of a size which may be attractive to someone like that. Otherwise, you're kind of going to be dependent on local mining operations, which perhaps you're going to get a slightly different valuation and price for. So have you got a time frame in mind? I know you're going to want the best for your shareholders. We all understand that. But have you got a time frame in mind? Because you're going to need to kind of obviously pay for all the stuff that you want to do in Papua New Guinea, because it seems like some big opportunities there. It's a big country. It's kind of virgin, and there's not so many companies there. So there's opportunities I'm sure you're about to tell me about. But what's the timing?
Well, there's a third scenario.
Oh, is it coffee? No.
Which is continue to advance Quinchia with these low-cost programs over the coming years and see where the dust settles, and hopefully it's at a better environment to transact, and we are a more advanced project.
Wait for the next elections. There's an option.
Whatever the circumstances they are,
You're not under any pressure to offload, I guess.
Exactly.
That's true.
And the spend is not significant for us because we're not on the ground exploring, which is obviously spend.
There's no number, but it's low.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like sucking blood from a stone with you guys. Right, let's go to Papua New Guinea, because I think it's fantastic geography obviously it's got some fantastic companies operating there already, high-grade gold coming out of the ground. But you're also talking about battery metals, which is obviously de rigueur at the moment. So what's the plan? You've picked these up. It's not, okay, let me say, it's smart strategy because it kind of diversifies the risk profile, which is great, not in terms of geography, but also in terms of the commodity.
Spot on, yeah.
So how did you pick the assets up and what have you got?
Sure. So we started looking for complementary assets last year, and we reviewed a lot. The circumstances around ultimately ending up with the PNG portfolio was we actually engaged one of the founders of the company that we ultimately acquired to run the ruler over some of the porphyry types projects we were looking at through Australia. And eventually we started talking about his portfolio, and we proposed we would be an interesting pathway for them to look at rather than sort of directly appealing to majors with their portfolio. And it's of that size where it would be appealing to a major. Work with us, and then we add value through our activities, and let's see where we end up. And so that's how the deal came about. In terms of the assets themselves, there's multiple assets. Most of them are copper gold targets, so not all that dissimilar to what we have in Colombia. It's the edge of the tectonic plate, mountain building environment, copper and gold. So very Miocene age as well. So very, very similar geology. But some of the grades we're getting are just incredible on that copper gold story. We have this one project called Quinchia, where we'll be drilling this quarter. That has a skarn layer, and this is just one small element of the whole Quinchia opportunity. It has this skarn layer. That has a surface sample of 63 grams per tonne gold and 18% copper. 18%,
sorry. Well done on gold, but 18% copper?
18% copper.
Okay, surface sampling. So we got to... Okay, but that's wow.
8 metre trench at 11.5 grams per tonne gold and 2.3% copper.
Okay, exciting
so
beginnings.
Amazing stuff. Near surface.
Near surface, oh great. So how do you move it forward? We're spending very little money of whatever it is, number that you talk. Would you say to me how much money you got?
8.4 million.
8.4. So you're going to spend how much in Papua New Guinea?
The lion's share of that.
This is painful. Right, okay. And doing what?
Well, as I said, we've got a 3,000 metre drilling program in quarter one at Quinchia.
Right.
Now, that's relatively shallow, so that's a lot of holes for 3,000 metres. It's going to get you a fair bit of drilling because it's sort of 100, 150 metre holes, that sort of thing, so 15, 18 holes, something like that. So that's the main focus, but while we're doing that, we're also looking to advance some of the other projects. Now, the one that's really exciting for us, and to be honest, one of the key points where we've got to get this portfolio is a little different to the rest of the entire portfolio, which is all copper gold. This is in the south. It's where the Solomon plate is sort of colliding with the Australian plate and lifting up nickel sulfides. I've walked this creek we have in this area, and there's float in this creek at, one sample, I've got the numbers here so I don't misquote them, 23% nickel and 10 grams per tonne gold. In sulfides. 32% nickel, 45-point-something% nickel in these float samples.
Not much room for anything else in there.
No, exactly. The very question I asked, how do you get so much nickel in a rock and it still be called a rock?
Yeah, wow.
So absolutely amazing. You wouldn't even call that high grade. You'd call that super high grade float in this creek. And of course, finding the source of that is a game changer.
Absolutely.
Absolute game changer.
So what do you focus on first? Because, the bulk of 8.4 million, both.
Well, we're running a few projects concurrently. So the main focus and the main spend is drilling. It's expensive to drill in PNG. That's where the bulk of it's going. But we're also doing this sort of preparation work and others are on the horizon as well. But the bulk of it's going in that Quinchia work. Not only are we drilling at Quinchia, but we're also doing field work. This skarn area that I was telling you about, that is potentially, the area that we're interested in is potentially a fraction of how big that skarn unit is, because it extends all the way to the west and then arcs around and all the way to the north and then to the east again. It's a massive opportunity.
It's a big country.
Yeah, and sitting underneath that is the potential for a porphyry. So whilst we're doing the 3,000 metre drilling, we're also doing other field work.
But porphyry hunters are really good at doing is that spending a lot of money and not finding anything. So, so when you say you've got lots of ways that you can allocate the capital here. Why is that the smartest way of doing it, and not sort of saying, well, we're super excited about these grades. You got copper, and gold grades, which are super nice. You get the nickel, which is off the charts, insane grades. And you've got a bunch of other options available to you. Why is the way that you're coming out of the smartest way to allocate your capital?
What we're doing is, I've said porphyry, but we're not focusing on porphyry in any of the activity we're doing.
Okay, good.
So I think we're aligned.
You've named it 3 times. You said porphyry 3 times, so I wasn't sure.
All right.
Go on.
Slap me if I say it again. Our focus is on 3 points. So high impact, high grade, quick wins. So that's what's driving.
What's that mean? You've given us the high grades bit already. It's all at surface though, right, or shallow. So what does high impact mean to you?
For a relatively small investment, you're going to get some incredible news flow. That's why Quinchia is so exciting. The grades are great.
Incredible news flow. So you're going for headlines?
We're going for traction at the start,
Right, okay. And nothing wrong with that. I just want to know what we're getting. So you want to say, right, we've seen some super high grades. I'm going to let you know we're having some super high grades over here.
We're going to validate what we've got.
So you can, at some point in the distant future where you raise some capital, it'll be at higher values than today. Okay, so fine. Makes sense. Right. And
so just to close that off. So where the high impact, high grade, quick wins are is this shallow drilling at Quinchia.
Clearly.
Easy field work at Very with the nickel to advance that to its next level. That's very easy, not all that expensive, relatively speaking, and the potential for quick wins.
So, okay, for a company of your size, and I do take this the right way, I do mean it respectfully, is it comes of a certain size. You've got to work out how you allocate your capital. You've got to spend it efficiently. But sometimes I get the diversification of risk as well. But sometimes the portfolio of projects is just too big. Given what you kind of just picked up at in PNG, what's the agreement with the guy whose assets have rolled into your company? Would you be allowed to flip out, spin out, monetize any of those anytime soon? Or is there kind of some sort of time constraints or cash expenditures are expected of you?
No, it's a complete 100% purchase.
Right.
And the 2 founding directors are now senior employees.
Right, but you didn't make any promises and said, like, don't worry, we've got this. Okay.
I think they're aligned. They're aligned with us in that the portfolio is too big. And some of those assets, I'm not going to say the P word again, but some of those assets require heavy, strong balance sheets to pursue. And so, we've said openly, we're open to other companies coming in and helping us with those,
Okay. It's interesting times, I think, in Papua New Guinea. I'm a big fan of the region, big fan indeed. So what do we do this year in terms of, you told us you're going to get some messaging into the market with some quick wins, right? I think, how would you like people to see what's happening in Colombia in terms of valuing that project? Because right now, I don't think it's getting some value, but nothing like it was, and maybe not as much as you want it to. So your message there, just very simply, just finish off this conversation, is what? It'll be okay in the end. We may monetize at some point. We'll wait for the next elections. We won't spend too much money, but it's got some real value there. There's a ton of gold there.
That's exactly
it. Okay.
That's exactly it. So put that to one side, look after it. 2.6 million ounces will be valuable in the future.
Okay, but get excited about what we're doing in PNG.
Look at what we've got in PNG. We've got some amazing results there, and we will show quickly through these high impact programs that start to deliver very quickly on those with drilling in March.
Good man. Thanks for the update. It's good to see you again.
Good to see you
for far too long.
Yeah.
I can understand why, but I think given what you just told me about PNG, I'd want to see you more regularly because those are exceptional grades. They
are exceptional grades, and you mentioned before K92. That's the poster child for the junior space. It's pursuing an opportunity that, because PNG has always been the realm of majors, they have selection criteria that that limits what they can pursue because it has to show promise of 5 to 10 million ounces pretty early on, or else they drop it. And so there's these opportunities for juniors to come in and grab those things. And K92 is a perfect example. I believe that was originally Barrick. They came in, developed it, and what are they now? $1.5 billion market cap on the TSX. So let's hope we follow that pathway.
Absolutely. Mr. Loons has done a great job. Good luck.
Good, thank you.